The criticism for Google Stadia has not been lacking. Ever since its announcement, people have been talking about exactly what it can be, what it probably will be, and what we know for a fact it definitely won't be. Right now, the narrative amongst those people most supporting of Google Stadia is that this is a game-changing idea. It's the future of gaming. It is everything we expect it to be in 2020. This is what gaming was supposed to become. And I just want to start this by saying that people said the same things about VR. They said the same things about the Vita. They said the same things about the 3DS. Some of those were excellent ideas that were pretty successful, but what they all share in common is that they didn't change the landscape of gaming forever. The technology did not suddenly shift the way we engage with this medium. But let me tell you, Google Stadia has become a joke so quickly. It is so quickly lacked in value. It has so quickly become everything it shouldn't be that it's almost remarkable that people believe that Google was suddenly going to enter the gaming sphere and begin their run of domination. What we know now immediately is that Google does not understand gamers, and they certainly do not understand what gamers are looking for with the launch of a new console, because that's what Google themselves are saying Google Stadia is. So let's get into the news that we've received about Google Stadia as of, well, probably 12 hours before the posting of this video. It was at that time that we got the launch lineup for Google Stadia. Now, before I get into this, I want to say two things. Number one, this video is about a lot more than launch titles, but number two, let me remind you that Google Stadia cost $130 for the console and $10 a month. That is on top of the fact that you are going to be buying your games at full price. This is not a subscription like Games Pass. Instead, you are spending money for your games at full price. So what is the launch lineup for Google Stadia, you ask? What Google had originally said is that the system would launch with at least 31 games from 21 different publishers. There's a source for this right here from The Verge, that the Google Stadia will launch with at least 31 games from 21 different publishers. That is not true. That is not what's happening. Instead, you're getting just 12 launch games, and you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's not a whole lot less than what you normally get with the console launch. Well, you might be surprised at what those games are. The 12 games launching alongside Google Stadia are Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Destiny 2 The Collection, Guilt, Just Dance 2020, Kine, Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead Redemption 2, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Samurai Showdown, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Thumper, and Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. Now let me break this launch list down a little bit. Let's first acknowledge that a quarter of the launch lineup are Tomb Raider games. A quarter of the launch lineup. 3 of the 12 games are Tomb Raider games that launched between the years of 2014 and 2019 that you, my friends, will be paying full price for. Now, I'm going to ask you a really quick question. You, the viewer, in your heads, answer something very simple. Can you see yourself spending $40 to $60 on a Tomb Raider game that's been out on every other console for years at this point? On any platform, even if you can play it on your phone? No? Well, let's move on. What about Just Dance 2020? No? Not interested in streaming that to your device? Okay, cool. That's fine. What about Red Dead Redemption 2? A game whose entire foundation is built upon its world and its beauty. I wonder how that'll run at 1080p on Stadia. What about Thumper, a game originally designed for VR? This list isn't just laughable, it's insulting. Could you imagine at this point, with Uplay Plus in existence, spending $60 on Assassin's Creed Odyssey again, or even for the first time at this point, where you can get it for half, or the price of a small subscription in Uplay Plus on PC? Could you imagine spending $60 on Mortal Kombat 11, a game that has been on sale more days than it's even been released? This launch lineup is ridiculous, not just for the price of the games that Google themselves say they're going to be pricing things at, but more so because this is not interesting enough for anybody to want to jump onto this for. Some of these games are years old, other ones are just strange, like Just Dance 2020. I can't think of a single person on the planet that was looking to find a new device to stream Just Dance 2022. And worse yet, none of these AAA games are even 2019 releases. But oh wait, by the end of 2019, there should be 14 additional titles. Those titles are, and with some of these, I know you're going to think I'm kidding, but I'm not, Attack on Titan 2 Final Battle, Borderlands 3, Darksiders Genesis, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Farming Simulator 19, Final Fantasy 15, Football Manager 2020, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Grid, Metro Exodus, NBA 2K20, Rage 2, Trials Rising, Wolfenstein Youngblood. Let's dive into those 14 really quickly. Wolfenstein Youngblood, maybe the most criticized Wolfenstein game of all time. Trials Rising, a $20 arcade game. Rage 2, one of the more poorly received games of the year. NBA 2K20, maybe the most poorly received sports game in recent memory. Football Manager 2020, Final Fantasy 15, which is years old. Farming Simulator 19, Attack on Titan 2. I mean, at the very least, they have games like Borderlands 3 and Ghost Recon Breakpoint. But I cannot fathom spending $130 and an extra $10 a month and the full price of these games just to play them over the internet. What I think this really says about Stadia is something about its value. A lot of these games you can get on subscription services that will cost you dramatically less than buying and playing them on Google Stadia. For example, I can play Destiny 2 for free. I can play Assassin's Creed Odyssey for the small subscription price of Uplay Plus, just like Just Dance 2020. I just bought on my PC a second time Rise of the Tomb Raider for $4. And a lot of these games, like Metro Exodus, are already on Xbox Games Pass, a subscription service that is much more valuable than this system even has a chance of offering. The price here is the real problem. If Google Stadia came out and it was a $300 box, and it was $10 a month from there, but you got all of these games for free, like an Xbox One or even a PC, that would make more sense. With new technology, especially gaming systems, you want to offer players and consumers something to latch onto, an idea to get them in the door. It's a lot easier to purchase an Xbox One for $300 when you know that you get to sit down for an extra $10 a month and play basically every new release on the system for free from there. If there's one thing I am certain gamers appreciate, it's value for their dollar. It's why huge games like The Witcher are often placed above games of similar quality. It's why the biggest criticism against Outer Worlds is its shorter length. There is no value here. That's especially the case when you're talking about a $150 box after taxes that's also going to cost you another $120 throughout each year. And even if you get one of the newer subscription plans that bring that cost down a little bit, it doesn't change the fact that over the course of one console generation, you're still paying $700-800 total for the subscription in the box. And that doesn't include your games. And the argument always is, well, what about PSN and Xbox One? Think about what PSN and Xbox One offer you. Free games. And even when they're not offering you free games, they offer things like PlayStation Now or Xbox Game Pass, that for a small fee, you can get those free games. The narrative around Google Stadia seems so simple. Will there be latency? Will there be lag? Will there be hiccups? Will it stream well? Will there be dips in quality? How good does your internet need to be? Everybody thought that Google Stadia was going to live or die by whether or not it worked well. But nobody thought about the fact, and by nobody I do mean the writers of the articles that seem to support Google suspiciously fast on this endeavor, that they're still making a game console that has to do things that game consoles do that make gamers want to play on that games console. Yes, your technology is novel, yes, it's interesting, and yes, far in the future, it may be the way we engage with media, but right now, this is a newer way to play games, and you have to give people a reason to get behind that. Google still has to provide people with a game console that's worth money, a subscription that is worth money. There's a lot of talk of, well, Google's going to start to develop their own games. You're going to see them soon. They're going to develop partnerships to get exclusive games on the system. But as of right now, all we're seeing is one racing game that allows a little bit bigger of a race. That's it. We hear this all the time. Remember, the Wii U was going to have all these third-party exclusives, and it was going to have all these third-party partnerships. Remember, the Vita was going to be this huge third-party machine, and everybody was going to come on board. And both systems ended up being indie machines, because AAA publishers and developers were not going to spend their money and time bringing a game to a system that, quite frankly, does not have the install base. And Google Stadia is going to have the exact same problem. Forget the latency, forget the input lag, forget all of that stuff. Just think about this as a game console, because that's what it is at the end of the day. It's another place to play your games, but the way people decide where to play their games is A, where they can get the most power, B, where they're most comfortable, and often where they can get the best value. And right now, Google Stadia offers none of those things. Their AAA developed games are probably years away, if Google's developing them at all. By the time those hit store shelves, or in this case, digital store shelves, I cannot fathom that there will be enough of an install base in Google Stadia to make a difference. It's like Nintendo's late efforts with the Wii U. Now, it might sound like I'm writing off Google Stadia really early. That's really not what I'm doing here. What I want to make clear is what Google Stadia can and cannot be. There is a ceiling to this idea, not the idea of cloud service games or streaming games. There's no ceiling to that. There's a ceiling to releasing a box with a subscription that charges you full price games that does not and is not going to get the support of these giant third-party publishers like it needs. It needs Ubisoft to go, hey, here's an exclusive Watch Dogs game. It needs Nintendo, which would never happen, to say, hey, here's an exclusive Mario game. It needs Bethesda to say, here's an exclusive Doom spinoff. It needs Activision to say, here's your own version of Call of Duty Declassified. It needs Kojima to say, here's your exclusive Kojima game. It needs Insomniac to say, here's your exclusive superhero game. The things that happen on every other console. Google is not Nintendo. They're not going to build an install base for their new system around their games. It doesn't work that way. And the consoles that don't do that need third-party support. So the question is, through all this pessimism, what can make Google Stadia successful? And I think the answer is very clear and easy. I don't hate Google Stadia. I have nothing against the idea. I've just seen this narrative so many times with technology and new consoles. What will make it successful is lowering and adapting expectations. Google Stadia's problem isn't Google Stadia, it's what people expect it to be in the way it's being marketed. It's being treated like this new platform, this new console that's here to compete with Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, and that's really not what this is. What this is a new kind of service for you to engage in games that you can already get elsewhere. It's a service. It's the new Ouya with a better idea and better technology. That's not to say that it's going to fail. What it is to say is that it's not this thing that's going to take gaming by storm. What it's going to be is a product that makes sense for some people to engage with. But for most, they're going to stick with their PS4 and their Xbox One and their Nintendo Switch and whatever the next gen becomes. I think the worst thing that Google Stadia is doing is setting itself up as this game-changing device, when in reality, it's really a game-altering device. And it's coming at maybe the worst time. Come February, E3 of next year, when Scarlett's on full display and the PS5 has been fully revealed and we're a couple of months away from launch, absolutely nobody is going to be talking about or thinking about Google Stadia. It's the Wii U all over again. It's the exact same cycle. Here's a new console coming right before the next generation of consoles. It's a little impressive, it's got good ideas, but in just a couple of months, it's going to be irrelevant amongst the masses and the mainstream. It's strange to see Google make a marketing misstep of this kind. And it's strange that this wasn't a decision that they made to just partner with the current consoles. Provide this service for them. Integrate it. You're using shrimp to try to catch sharks. It's not going to work. I want to be clear, if you're excited about Google Stadia, that's awesome. I'm excited about Google Stadia too, but I've also reasonably set my expectations. I know what to expect. I'm not expecting the world from something that isn't ready to offer it. Believe me, if games are ready to be only streamed, which by the way cuts out the middleman and makes everybody more money, every single console manufacturer would have a diskless console and would only be offering that very reality. But the reality is that the consumer in the industry isn't ready to make this shift overnight, and that Google Stadia isn't going to be the cause of the shift overnight. Sure, the technology is great, and yes, it will pick up, and yes, the industry will adapt to it, but that's in the future, and it looks like the relatively distant future. It's really easy to say that every technology is the next big thing, but when it comes to technology, first isn't always better. It's usually the guy that gets there second or third that runs away with the race. Well guys, that's it for this video. I want to be very clear here. I know I seem harsh on Google Stadia, but it is exactly what I thought it was going to be a couple of months ago. It is not a competitor for the next generation of consoles, and that's okay. That's what I thought it was going to be, and so I can still be pretty happy about what it may end up becoming, which is really what we're waiting to see here. But now I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about Google Stadia's launch lineup? Do you think that any of these games are something you'd spend $60 on just to play in a different capacity? What do you think they could have added if it was possible that would have made this launch lineup better? And if you had to pick one game to add to this launch lineup, what would that one game be? Let me know the answer to any of those questions down in the comments below. Let's have a real conversation. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you have not yet pressed subscribed, might as well do that as well. That'll make sure you never miss anything that I put up on this channel. Also, next to the subscribe button, as I say in every single video, there's a little bell. That little bell is called the notification bell, and all it does when you press it is make sure you actually get notified when I upload a video. So if you press that bell, you'll actually see my videos when they come out. It's really helpful. So press subscribe and the little bell. Super duper quickly, as I mentioned to you guys, I did lose my capture card a couple of days ago when I was trying to make my Death Stranding video. That is being replaced, and as the time this goes up, it should have been replaced. So the next Death Stranding video will be coming. I don't know if it'll be the next video, even the one after that, but it will come. Until next time, guys, I'm out.